How is it going, everybody? Root of the Null here, coming back at you with some Python tutorials, and I'm gonna jump into pygame. And a whole ton of people have been asking me for tutorials on pygame and like game development stuff, 2D games in Python, and honestly, it is about time that I've gotten to work into it. Um, I still have some kind of concurrent series that still aren't really finished, but honestly, to keep me kind of entertained, to keep me interested, I like to push out new things, and sometimes I get lost trying to jump back onto a tutorial series that I've been away from for a long time. So it might be a good idea for me to just push out a little bit of this Pygame series and see how far I can get. I've planned 13 videos so far. I spent the whole morning getting that prepared, and hopefully now we can just start programming and I can see how far I can get. But yeah, let's look at pygame. Okay, so obviously the first things first is documentation, and all the things that we're going to be looking at are kind of available, or at least their resources, and the manual, the how-to guide on how to do a lot of this cool stuff is online at pygame.org. I have that up. Pygame.org has this nice fancy logo. And over here on the left side, when you typically see the navigation, documentation is where you want to be. And there's a whole ton of information about how to install Python. I'll probably put out a video on how to do that. Sorry, install Pygame. And all of the small modules and the things that come along with it that we will be actually looking at throughout the rest of the series. Before we get into like at least referencing the documentation, I do want to start coding, and I'll get the ball rolling obviously with the shebang line at Python, and I'm going to save this as oh look, you can see all of the all of the things that I've been trying to prepare us with, and I'm just going to save mine as a Python file. I called mine current.python. You can call yours whatever, and let's get started. Obviously, the Python module name for pygame is called pygame. You can install it in Windows by downloading it online. You can probably install it from the command line in Linux from just sudo apt-get install python-pygame. You might not be using a Debian-based system, so it might not be apt-get. It might be like Yum or any of the other Red Hat other alternatives. I don't know. I'm looking at Python and I'm looking at pygame, so that's what's important right now. Now, normally when I'm programming, you would see me work with main, and then I'd create kind of like a test guard to see if this is the actual file that we're running. And I'm not going to do exactly that in this series. I'm going to keep it just with this if guard, and that'll keep things global, keep things in the global scope. So in case I have variables in a main function, they're really still going to be accessible throughout the rest of the program, so we're not going to have that main function. Okay, here we go. Pygame module. The first thing you should always do is initialize. That initialize function will initialize all of the other submodules that pygame has, and it actually allows you to go ahead and use them. So it's a good thing to have that, or at least start your program off with that. Now we have to do the most basic and most quintessential thing: creating a window so we can work with our games, we can work with our images, and we can work with our sounds and all of the great stuff. So window, we're going to create an object that'll actually keep track of this, and that's going to be pygame.display. Display is one kind of submodule, or at least piece of the pygame library, and the function that we want to run is called setMode. And inside there we have the parameters, which are in this case the window size. And normally those are in, X and Y values. And the thing is that the setMode function takes it in as a tuple. And I'm going to try and convince myself to say tuple correctly, because I always say tuple. So let's set up some variables that actually keep track of this for us. I'm going to say window size can equal window width and window height. Should learn how to type, and that's going to equal 640 and 480 in my case. Obviously you can make this whatever size that you would like, and then we just pass in window size to our setMode function. Awesome. Let's go ahead and run this. Let's just see what happens. I'm running the program, Oh, okay, you weren't able to see it because it displayed way down here, but it makes a small little window that immediately goes away. Well, what the heck? We created our window, right? So why is that doing that? Alright, let's check it out. The way that we set up the window to keep at least staying alive or running, is to set up a variable that we can keep track of that says whether or not the program is alive or whether or not we're running. So in this case, I'm going to say running, and I'm going to set that to equal true. And we're going to set up a while loop, and you guessed it, while we're running, while true, all the time, we're going to test whether or not the pygame has received events. And we're going to get into this later on in this tutorial series about event handling and how to keep track of all the different events that go back and forth in your pygame program. But for now, you're going to want to type in for event in pygame event.get. Remember to keep track of all these dots. No uppercase letters yet; those will come eventually. And go ahead and use your colon to end off the for loop, and then go ahead and test with an if statement, a conditional statement, if the event type. All events in pygame have a certain type, and we're going to get into that again later on when we look at event handling. But for now, you need to know if pygame.quit is the type of the event that we're looking at, then running is going to equal false. Now, I'm sure you guys can guess that this is kind of the equivalent of pressing the close button. So let's run the program now. And now the window should stay open, and you can see it's just a black kind of window for me. It might be for you, very likely just black. In fact, I'm positive it's just black. And mine doesn't fit in the screen. I'm actually just going to leave it like that. I hope you don't mind. So I will be carrying the window around a lot. But when you click this close button, running equals false, and the program ends. Okay. The next line that we should worry about is pygame.quit. It's kind of just good housekeeping and safety to include that. I don't think it's necessary, but it's a very good idea to have it because it might remove some memory allocations that pygame use and that sort of thing. Okay, so that's all for now. Super duper simple, super duper easy. Just a basic window. That's going to lay the foundation for the rest of this tutorial series. Keep in mind that all this stuff is available online, or at least the documentation for how to use this stuff. Display, we're going to be getting into that next, because we want to know what more can we do with this window. But pygame.org is where you want to be. We're going to be referencing this documentation a lot throughout the series. Okay. Looks like we're done here. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're excited about this series. I hope you're pumped up. And maybe you're willing to like the video? Maybe subscribe? That would be great. I'm excited to talk to you guys soon in the next tutorial. Bye.